Let's do that. Okay. So now the computer is not fast enough. All right, forget the slideshow. Okay, this part we pretty much did. I don't exactly remember what we did last time, but we did, I think, can somebody remind me? We did my slides, is that right? We didn't do these Hebrew ones, right?
Yeah, we did them in English.
And what did we, do you remember what we talked about? Anything?
Yeah, I'm trying to see what slide we're up to. I think we were somewhere in the middle. I'm fine.
Yeah, well, I'm going to switch the slides, actually. I'm switching the
Oh,
slides
okay.
because the course is been redone. And we talked about, right, we talked about the software crisis. We talked about like why software can't be like bridges.
Yeah.
Okay. So here, wait a second. Yeah, okay. I want to start here. Um, we're just going to go through these slides. I'm going to go a little bit quickly. These are on, you can find these on Moodle. These are on Moodle, they're already up. These are basically, I translated the Hebrew slides. And so that's what we have here. So I didn't make these up. These are from, and the truth is I don't 100%, not the best way to teach the course, I don't think, but I mean, I think there's some things they leave out and some things they talk too much about, but more or less it's fine. So there's something called the structured development life cycle, which basically you figure out what your project is going to be, and you have stages. At each stage of development, personnel perform part of the development process using methods, techniques, tools that dictate what to do in each stage, how to perform, what is the product of each stage, how to move from one step to the other until you get the software product. Basically, we have sequential stages to develop a product because you know, in school, you just do small projects. But if you have a big project, you need to figure out what the stages are. You need to have a plan. And
Where
that's
can I
this.
find slides again?
What?
Where can I find these slides?
They're in Moodle.
Like I mean, what?
Let me see if I can show you. Here, it says lecture slides in English.
Yeah.
See that? And then you see SE, which is software engineering, lecture 01 in English.
Right, lecture slides.
You
Under
see
the
lecture.
heading English language course with Nahum Danzig.
Wait a second. No, no, it's not there. It's right here at the very beginning in the introduction. And it says Hartzaot and then lecture slides in English. See my screen?
No,
You don't see my screen?
no.
Oh, anyway, it's the fifth thing on the page.
Ah, and then number 2.
Number 1. No, we're still in 1.
Oh, we're still in 1. Okay.
Okay, now you see my slides?
No.
But you don't see the screen that I'm looking at? I did share my screen.
I see
I
the
can
screen.
see it. So
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's continue. Next slide. So there's something called the initiation process, where basically you decide whether you're going to do the project, you figure out what the project's going to be. Is a stage in the structured development life of a system in which we perform the initial identification of existing problems and the need for a new information system. In other words, we decide that there's a real need for this thing, and then we're going to actually do it. We don't make software because we like making software, we make it because it fills the need. Initiation is a general name for the collection of activities carried out from raising the need for the system, in other words, discussing the need or pointing out there is a need, to providing a formal approval by management to begin planning the project. At this stage, we enter all the requirements of the system known to us.
Wait, I don't
So
see the slide. I only see you.
Really? But everybody else sees the
Do you have
slide?
him pinned, maybe, Eliana? Maybe like unpin Nahum.
He's not pinned.
So
Maybe
we
I
would
should
just,
join again.
yeah, because we both, like, we all see him.
So
I
weird.
mean,
Okay,
see
I'm
the
gonna,
slides. Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
slides. You see me small, I hope.
Yeah. We see both.
I'm gonna have to let you in though if she rejoins. Admit. Okay, at this stage, we enter all the requirements of the system which are known to us. Requirements that, we're going to talk about this different kinds of requirements. Requirements that came from the client, whether by documents he provided to us or by means or by meeting with the client. So in other words, the client, if we're building this thing for the client, we're going to interview the client and he's going to tell us what he wants and we're going to write down things. We're also going to do market research and look at other systems that did things that are similar to ours to get ideas. And these will give us the requirements. The process is usually performed by a senior manager or the manager designated to carry out the project, or sometimes the senior systems analyst. The product of this process is called an initiation document, which is what you have to do in the lab. Did we have a lab? Did you guys
Yeah,
pick a
we started
project?
this document. Yeah, we
What did
started it.
Yeah. Oh, how far did you get?
I think
We didn't pick all of the 15 actions, but I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but I was thinking, because it was kind of hard to think of some of them, it might be easier once we start the next stage so that, I don't know, it kind of makes more sense like in the context.
Well, this is the big problem is that you have to have a project that you can think of a lot of things. You can't think of things that might not be the best project. It's not like you're not going to think about them. You got to brainstorm. You got to really try to think of things. And if you can't think of things, then, if it's just to locate the nearest pizza shop to me, it's not so many features of that thing. We want something with a lot of features.
Mhm.
Um,
We have something that has a lot of features from the client end, but not necessarily from like the worker's end. But is that something that we can
Okay,
always make
that's
into
fine. That's
a
fine.
worker's action?
The features should be, things that require checking. You want to think about features also as things that have like an if statement in them. If it's like this, then do this. And if it's not like this, then do that. Because otherwise you don't have a function. You know what I mean? If it's just
Mhm.
like, get me the name of I give you the name and just do a search. If everything is just a search, it's not really that interesting. You really want to have processes that have the state, like a program that has if else, Anyway, the process is usually performed by a senior. I said that. The stage is an important stage. I don't know what I mean by that. Which determines whether we will continue. Or I guess this stage. Oh yeah, this stage is an important stage because it determines whether we continue. In other words, we may do our analysis and decide it's no good. Our whole project doesn't have there's no real need for it, or we couldn't come up with enough functionality that would be a meaningful project. Any system, regardless of its type and scope, must first carry out the initiation phase. So you don't, you know what you're getting into. So you have to ask these questions. Why? And I didn't translate as a picture. What is the purpose of this project? Why is it necessary? For who? We have to decide who our clients are going to be. What? What's the essence of the project? What is the main thing that it does? What does it execute? What does it achieve? What are how are we going to decide whether it's a success or not? What are the criteria for determining if it's successful or not? How? How are we going to do it? Well, how are we going to implement this project? How much? How much people, how much money, how many computers, systems do we need to use to make this project? When should we do it? Should we do it immediately? And when will it be finished? Who? Who is in the group? And who will approve changes to the project or features. In other words, there might be changes that we want to make. Who's going to decide whether we should or shouldn't? Where? Where will the project be used? People use it in an office, will it be in their homes? Okay, those are some of the questions that we need to ask when we are defining our project, which is what you guys are doing. These are all questions that you should be asking. Okay. Now we go on to this thing, which is who is the largest employer in the state of Israel? What would you say? Well, the state of Israel itself is the largest employer, government, and the army, I guess, combined. All government jobs. So the government made, or the army and the government made something called Mafteach, which is Mafteach is a kitsur, is a shortened name of a procedure, and that's what I was having you guys do up till now, but we're going to switch, and we're not going to do exactly Mafteach because it's sort of old. Although it was being used up until recently. Maybe it is still being used in some places. It's basically a set of it's a set of rules or a format that initiation document should take, so that I can compare any two initiation documents, and I'll always find, for example, that Chapter 2, Section 5 will always be a list of all the functionality of the program, and Section 5 and Chapter 5 will always be the cost analysis. Now, there's a standard format for creating an initiation document, and it's part of a general framework called Mafteach. Wait, so let's see what I wrote here. That's introduction. Initiation document according to key procedures. A procedure is a set of rules that define how a document should be written at each stage of the project development. So that's what we mean by procedure here. How are we going to write this initiation document? Procedure is development and maintenance. Well, the Mafteach procedure was developed for development and maintenance of automatic data processing, which is like what we would call an information system. It's an Israeli standard. It's very common in a large number of organizations, especially in government organizations. Right. It's I don't know why I don't know why the translation was plate, but what it means is like a set. It's a set of key procedures, and there's a bunch of them. There's a requirements document, there's a detailed characterization document, there's a test document, not just the initiation document. There's several documents. We were focusing on the initiation document, but all of that is in part of what Mafteach. Okay. That's just sort of to know that there was such a thing called Mafteach, but we're not going to actually follow its procedure. We're going to do something that's like based on it, but it's not the thing. Because we just made, like, I think the people in charge of the course just made up a simpler version. It's very complicated. Very complicated, the real one. Wait a second. So where are we here? So I don't know if I mentioned, did I mention Agile? Right, I mentioned Waterfall, right? And I mentioned Agile in the previous
Yeah,
lecture?
we mentioned both.
Great. So if you think about it, the initiation document, that's a key point here, is really designed for a waterfall project, for a project that you started off and you plan it all out and then you do it. And it's not really intended that you go back and change the initiation document. Although we did say that you could have changes, but in general, you don't have, if you have to change it, then you really lost a lot of the benefit of having planned it out ahead of time. And you also lose the ability to really know how long it's going to take and how much it's going to cost and all the things that we wanted to achieve by doing the waterfall. So, yeah. I just want to repeat again something I said last time, which is that the waterfall is generally considered like a bad system, even though it's necessary in certain circumstances. It is considered bad, and therefore Agile was developed, which is to be more flexible. That we're planning on changing things. We're going to start off with the original plan that we are going to be changing things. So how do you combine this how do you do an initiation document when you also want to do an agile project? So here's a recommended format for an agile project initiation document. First, we have a header where we say the project name, the date, the students, a summary, a brief and exhaustive, it should be a brief yet exhaustive description of the project, including the main goals and the target audience. Right? Who is it for and what is it going to do? You got to know that initially. Background. Then you have a section called background. These are I think these are, if I'm not mistaken, 7 sections. See, it's actually, yeah, 1, 2, 3, and here's 4. So there's 7 sections. So first we have the header, which is the name, just like the all who's involved. Then the summary, then a background, which is a detailed. This is what I want you to write. This is actually a description of what you have to do in the lab. You have to write these 2 parts. Then you have to write section 3, which is a detailed description of the problem or opportunity that the project intends to solve. In other words, the niche that you're going to fill with your thing, like what's going on in the current state of affairs in the world, in this avenue, in this in the area that your project is going to deal with. A brief overview of the relevant technologies. You can discuss what technologies are currently available, what ones are potentially usable for a new version, an explanation of the importance of the product and its potential contribution. Fine. That's background. Then goals and objectives. This is the 4th section you have to write. Set specific, measurable, achievable, timely, relevant, and limited goals in scope. And this SMART I think is an acronym. I don't know if we saw it before. Did we see it before? Maybe we'll see it again. I don't think we saw it. It's funny that we just mentioned it here. Anyway, SMART is an acronym. It just means like.
Do that beginning in Hebrew? I don't remember going over
the beginning I skipped. The Hebrew part in the beginning I skipped because it's basically saying the same thing that I already taught you.
Oh, okay.
And I was just checking to see if they mentioned SMART over there. I don't think they did. Anyway, you don't have to know what the acronym stands for, but it's basically a list. Where are we? I went to. Okay, it's basically a way to just, I don't know, in scope, I don't know, division, I don't know what they wanted to say by SMART. It's not important. Setting specific, measurable, achievable, timely, relevant, limited goals. Division of goals into different levels. General goals, and then goals, and goals specific to each module. Because you should have like modules in your program. Modules, the idea of modules is like, like let's say you're talking about a library. You might have a module that deals with like all the things that have to do with people who are members of the library. Canceling their account, creating their account, getting their dues, sending them warnings that their books are late. I don't know, sending them messages, all things that. Then you may have somebody else dealing with like inventory of the books. And then you may have another thing that deals with like, of borrowing books. You may have separate sections for different general categories of things that the program does. And that helps you divide the task among all the different workers. If you can have a team that's doing a certain module. That's the idea of modules. You should also define your target audience. This is the fifth thing in the document. Define the target audience of the project: users, potential customers. Description of the needs and expectations of the target. What do they want? What do people really want? Project scope requirements. Detailed description of the planned functionality set, basic functionality required, and additional functionality. In other words, what is the necessary? What is the functionality that's required? Minimum requirements, and then additional things that are nice to have. Define requirements for the user perspective. This is, in fact, for your perspective, the most important part of the document, because here, in fact, and I would almost say here is where you should start, because here you're actually defining a description. What is the functionality? If I know the functionality of the thing, then I know what the thing does. I know, then I can explain who's it for. And obviously you have in the back of your mind who it's for. That you should have even before you start. And also, and all the other things that we saw up till now are kind of are kind of like you could just sort of make up anything you want. But here in the project scope, you have to really figure out what it's doing and what is the purpose of each function. What does it achieve? And why is it different from the other function? And it's also helpful to group these functions into modules. Just say, okay, if I have 15 functions, 5 of them are all revolving around this. Then I can have a section called management of this. And then I can have another section for the next 5 called management of the other thing. And a third section called management of the third thing. And each of those will deal with managing that aspect, like managing book stock supplies, I don't know, and managing users, and managing all the things that deal with managing users, all the functionality that deals with that, will each one be a separate module. And the final part of the document should be constraints. Identification of technical, budgetary, time, human resources constraints. So what are our constraints? Like it has to be the Windows, under the Windows operating system, or it has to be done within a year, or it can't spend more than a certain amount of money, or we only have 3 workers and it has to be done by only 3 workers. You can't have more. Whatever the constraints are, you have to write there. And now here you can just like kind of make up anything, because now in the original Mafteach version of this document, there was only 5 sections, but the 5th section actually had a whole procedure where you calculate how much it's likely to cost through following all kinds of deterministic algorithms that were discovered that sort of work to produce an actual cost. But we're not doing that. Instead, we're just going to write these. We're just going to say arbitrarily we want it to be within a certain budget. And this is our budget, and we want to be within a certain time. So anyway, this is what you have to do in the lab, and the most focus should be on this section, projects. Any questions at this point? Okay, let's go on. Recommended format for an agile project, the initiation deck. Divide the project into iterations. So if we're going to really do this in an agile way, we may have to add something to this, which is that there should be iterations. It shouldn't be all done. It's not, we should figure out what's the first section that we're going to do. Create a general project schedule. Maybe have milestones where we say we're going to finish. Divide the project into short sprints. What we're going to, short sprint, we didn't talk about this, but a sprint is like a 2-week or 1 or 2 week period of time in which you try to produce 1 or more features. And it's limited in its time, and therefore limited in how many features you try to do. And you try to get something, but the point is to not just to work on everything all at once, and then they have nothing after 6 months, and then hope to have everything finished after 7 months. You want to have after 1 month already a couple sprints finished and things done. So you define and divide. You define what your sprints will be, and you divide the project into those. So yeah. Now, did you guys look at the initiation documents? Here, actually, I want to show you here. See if you see my screen. Do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So over here, we have some examples, which will be very helpful for you. In the lab section here. First, we have subjects, and then we have the exercise define. That's really what I want you to do. And here's an example. The, the parking lot is an example also, but it's it's the maximum I want you to do. That would be the largest size. This is the smallest size. You can do something in between. Let's look at the one that's small. It's quicker to look at. So first of all, you see that there's a table of contents. And there are 7 and actually 8 sections. For this first apps, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, wait, 7. Oh, why is this? Oh, where the title is not counted. I guess he didn't put titles here. There was also a titles section, but whatever. Abstract background, that was really section 2, the abstract background goals. These are all the sections that we just discussed. And here you see a personal medical file specialized for the field of allergies, which is computerized, is a digital system that will allow doctors and patients quick and secure access to critical medical information about the allergies. That's my translation along with Google's translation. It's kind of a long sentence. I didn't know exactly how to say it, but a personal medical file. In other words, you have a file. I mean, it's not a file like on a computer, but your file with the doctor. So we want to computerize it so that all the doctors can look at it, and the system will provide up-to-date information for sensitivities of allergies and treatments, ongoing medical monitoring, to reduce medical errors, to promote optimal health among its users. Fine. So we want to create a system that does it. The background. The problem currently, patients with allergies are required to manually transfer medical information between healthcare providers, which can lead, of course, So we want to have a system that will enable digital centralized sensitivity management, can significantly improve. In other words, we want that all the different healthcare providers will be able to log into the same system and see your private information. I mean, this, of course, is idiotic idea because that's not the way things work. I mean, if your information is private, if you have it with a particular healthcare provider, I mean, you'd have to give permission for him to give it to the other healthcare provider. But whatever. This is maybe that'll be part of the project that you have to grant permission. Relevant technologies, all that is the background, as we said. Goals: maintain customer security and access to personal information, compliance with regulatory conditions of the Ministry of Health. Maybe that's what they're talking about. Maybe like, the information can't be shared with every chiropractor and Chinese doctor who claims that he's a doctor. There's got to be some kind of confidentiality. But that's not really a goal. That's almost a constraint. I'm not sure if I agree with that. That's kind of a constraint. It's not a monetary constraint, but it's not a goal. That's not why I didn't build the system in order that it should be confidential. Once I build the system, I want it to be confidential. That's not my goal or my objective. I don't have no system, then it'll be super confidential. This is not really a goal. But here are goals. Increase system usage. At least 80% of users express satisfaction. I don't like this definitions of goal. 30% reduction in medical errors due to incomplete or incorrect information about allergy. That's a goal. In other words, the current system, there's nothing unified, and therefore there's errors, and therefore people so we want to reduce it. I'm not sure I agree with these goals. Anyway, target audience needs. And then at the end, we have constraints: compliance with stringent data requirement, budgetary, maintain, develop within a predefined budget. Well, I think you should actually, here it says 2 months. Here, you shouldn't just say predefined budget. You should say what the amount is. And now you have this final thing that we mentioned: divide the project into sprints. Sprint 1, build this module. Development of medical history interface. See how we have these sprints with the duration and what they're going to do. This part I skipped actually is the required functionality and the nice to have functionality. So here's what it actually does. Allergy management. Entering 17 by types. Keeping a diary of visits and diagnosis. So in other words, how often you will go to the doctor? Here is which foods you're sensitive to. Accessible user interface. For physicians and patients. So you want to make the user interface. This is very, very rudimentary and not sufficient. As I look at it more carefully, because what you tell me, what is it missing?
I mean, if it's being so specific about allergies, it should be specific about other things, which are like a ton, like beyond that in medicine.
What do you mean? What other things?
I mean, this isn't just about allergies, right? This is like just
No,
about
it is. No, this is an allergy management system.
okay.
It is just for allergies. That's what it
Okay.
is. I don't know why it's not your whole medical history. Yeah, right. Why not everything? Maybe you should look at all your illnesses and all your troubles. Why is it just allergies? I don't know. But that's what that was decided. It's just allergies. Any other anybody see that something should be added here or missing or it's not sufficient? I mean, I don't get a feel for a use case. What am I going to do with this system? I can enter in allergies, enter sensitivities by types, foods, medicine. Notice, is it a food allergy? And then what type of food? Is it a Fine, I can enter that in. And then I have a user interface to secure access to information for visit. Just all I do is put the information in and get it out again. It's like very simple machine, doesn't do much. Just like it's like a filing cabinet. It's not really much of a system. Let's look at another system that's here. Initiation document. That's the assignment. But where's parking lot? Let's see what we think about parking. So here we have the project aims to share real-time information between people in order to make it easier for residents and guests to find parking spots. The system enables each user to receive available, reliable, and quick information regarding available parking spaces in his area, taking into account personal benefits such as regional parking permits. Okay, let's skip all the things that I think is important. Here, goals. There should be 50 new members. 80% of the users will express satisfaction with the system. 50 reports per day by system users, which encourage reducing. This is users, increasing, categorize it, increasing the number of users and reach of your app. That's one goal. Another goal is reducing time spent finding. Well, that's like a real goal. Another goal is cooperation with various parties. Okay. Target audience. This is more like what you should do. Projects, essential functions. Let me just get a drink of water. Okay. So registration to the system. So you see, this is user registration includes phone number. Okay, that's obvious. Manage queues for parking. The system will manage waiting lists for parking requests. I don't know what that means. You'll go and buy. You'll sit in your car and you'll wait for a message to tell you your turn now. Regular updates to users, providing users with updates regarding the parking status, including the possibility of receiving regular reports on parking spaces that are vacated even without the user looking for it. So there's a functionality that I can like request to be told there's a parking space just opened up in front of your house if you want to move your car. Searching for parking. The user can search for parking by street or defined areas. Reporting free parking. The system will enable the reporting of vacant. See, these are actual. See, this is what I didn't like about the system of the allergies. It didn't really say what you're doing. You're just putting information and getting it out. But you'd like a system that takes the information, and because it has all the information, it's able to all of a sudden do interesting things with it. The user will receive information about free vacant parking, paid, fine parking. What's the difference between that and searching for parking? Not sure. Advertising private parking spaces. The user will be able to advertise that he's got a space that people can pay for. Interfacing with parking lots. The system will be able to connect, setting up connect to other systems, right? Retention of user data, data security. All right, these are data distribution speed. The system will format the data so that updates will arrive quickly enough with the display of free parking spaces before paid parking space, free and then paid, to make it easier to search for the user. System will be able to support millions of users. So these are all kinds of requirements. They're not necessarily functionality. Like they could be requirements like the last one, which was how many users can possibly use the system at once. But these are essential functionality. And here you see what the system's really doing. User interface requirements. Fine. Okay, I think you get the idea of the kind of document we're talking about. Architecture requirement. This means like what architectures can you use? This is less, you have to put less energy on that. Okay. So let's go back to where we were. So this is what we mean by you should divide the project into iterations. Remember, we saw that was a kind of an extra chapter of this document, which deals with the sprints. Okay. And so tips for writing initiation document for an agile project: cooperation, encourage collaboration among all group members during document preparation. And you shouldn't really divide it up among yourselves and say, you do this, I'll do that. Because imagine one person writes the requirements, another person writes, the back something else, and the things don't fit together. Who says that I had a different thing in mind when I wrote my part? You can't divide it up into, that one person will do chapter 1, 1, 2, chapter 2. It would be like you gave a book it would be like you asked 5 different people to write a book together. Each one writes a chapter on their own. How could you do that? They would have to know what the other chapters contained in order to write what their chapter was. So you could divide the work up if one person finished his work and sent it to everybody else, and then the next person, and only then would the next person start. But if you're working simultaneously, you might come up with stuff that doesn't fit together. So you kind of have to collaborate. Flexibility. Keep in mind that Agile is flexible, so the document may change during the project. Frequent updates. We updated the document regularly to reflect changes and developments in the project. In other words, expect changes. Using tools. This is all, the changing is the Agile aspect of it. Using tools, use tools like Azure DevOps, which we didn't learn yet. And these are other tools to help organize it. Okay. Use simple, clear language. Try to use simple, clear language so that everyone in the group understands the document. Avoid using overly technical terms that not everyone. The initiation document is the starting point of the project, provides solid foundation for planning and execution of the project. By maintaining a clear and detailed structure, you can ensure that your project runs smoothly and efficiently. Fine. So you got the document should be clear and good so that you can do it. Now, right, that's enough about that. But now there's question is how do you get this functionality that I was talking about? You want to have these functions, it does this. So a good way, well, we're going to talk about three aspects of helping to define what you want from your project. One is called writing an epic. And an epic is a long, in English literature, an epic is a long story, let's say. But an epic sets the overall direction for a project, outlining the big picture goals. Really, an epic is like the whole set of use that I'm going to have for this thing. What's my goal? People, a person comes with his car to visit his aunt in a crowded neighborhood, and he needs to find parking lot, and he's willing to wait in the car for 20 minutes. He waits for 20 minutes, and the system will tell him, yes, now there's a space opened up 2 blocks away, and he can quickly get there and get that space before anybody else. And then he can visit his aunt, and then he's going to go home, and the system will also, oh, here's a system. I don't know if the system did this, but it should. If it's on his phone, the parking system should tell him where he parked. He should be able to go into the system, and it should direct him to where he parked his car. That would be a great addition to the system. I don't know if that's in there. Because now the system knows where he parked. It told him where to park. Maybe he could register that he took it. Features break down features. So first we had epics. Then we have features. Features break down these larger goals to smaller goals achievable in chunks. So that's a feature of your program. One of the features is that he can identify where his car was parked. Another feature is that he can tell where the ant is, so that it finds like parking place that's near. Another feature is that he can request that the message be beep for him to tell him when it comes, or that the flashlight of his phone starts flashing. Features. Those are features. User stories to find the specific task needed to build each feature. Because a feature maybe actually has several stories in it. So we'll see. I think I have an example of a story coming up. Yeah, here's a story. So this is the most basic building block of defining a project. And we write it in it. I think we'll talk more about this later, but the basic structure is, the minimum structure is as let's take our parking lot example. As a car driver, I want to be able to find parking spaces quickly. So you've just got the as a and I want. Now, the more sophisticated is you add in the so that. As a driver, I want to find parking spaces so that I don't waste a lot of gas driving around looking for a parking place. Also, we know that we're interested in not having to drive too far. The so that is not technically necessary, but it helps because if I say I want to do this, then they say, well, why do you want to do that? If that's I have an argument in a group. That's a stupid thing. Why would you ever want to do that? So you have to put in the so that, and then it becomes clear. It also helps make it clear what your goal was. As a senior support agent, I want to view emails. See that you could just say it's sent to the customers. I want to see them, but why doing it? So that I'll know what communication took place. Really, I would say I would add a little differently. So that when a conversation is escalated and I become involved, I can determine what the previous conversation that took place before I got involved was. That would be why. In other words, I want to know what had happened, not just that. Obviously, I can see the information so I can know what communication took place, but why do I want to know what communication? Be a little better. As a user, I want to sign up so that I can save my progress in the game. Okay. As a user, I want to search for products by category so I can find quickly what I'm looking for. Okay. So those are called stories. Many stories together form an epic, we could say. but also many stories together first form a feature, and then many features together form an epic. But the reason why they came up with the word epic was because they first had just stories, and they said many stories together go to become an epic. And this sort of we're sneaking in features in the middle there. Okay, so that's the end of lecture 1 of the Hebrew version as translated by myself and the algorithms of the internet. And now, lectures in English, lecture 2. And if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me. You guys are still there? Give me a sign of life.
Yeah, we're here.
Okay. This is what I was doing last night from 10 o'clock till midnight. Translating, or more, really from 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock, 8:30 midnight. Translating this.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
What time
Okay.
do we end today?
What?
What time do we end today?
Well, actually, I have another class soon. Let's see.
Just because I have something at 2.
Well, officially we end at 1:45. So we'll end at 1:45.
Okay.
Even though I started a bit late, maybe we could add another 5 minutes or so.
Okay. No
Um,
problem.
okay, let's see, okay, software engineering, defining and managing requirements. Okay. We'll start with actually the most important thing that you'll see in this entire course, which is this: how projects really work. Because if you can make a cartoon and make fun of something, then you truly understand it. And this summarizes everything. Okay, so let's look at this cartoon. How the customer explained it. He wanted this is, I guess, for a swing. He wants a swing. The customer explained it like this. He wants this thing, and he meant it, that you can swing on many, many times. So apparently it has 3 shells for swinging. It's not really what he wanted. How the project leader understood it. He understood that a swing like this would be completely useless because it would bang against the tree. How the analyst designed, if you want it to be like that, you're going to have the tree suspended in the air because that's the way he told to do it. So we got to fix it. How the programmer wrote it. He wrote it in a way that doesn't do anything. How the business consultant described it to salespeople. It's very comfortable. How the project was documented. No documentation. What operations installed? In other words, the people in charge of actually installing it did nothing, did very little. How the customer was billed. He was charged for a lot more. How it was supported. Doesn't work? Cut it down. What the customer really needed. He wanted a tire swing, actually. Okay, so this is all what we're really interested in, avoiding all of this. And really what we're interested in is this problem here. In other words, from these first 4 stages, like we didn't get it right in the first place. Then we tried to fix it and we ended up doing something completely not working. We don't want that. We want to try to write a project that works. So motivation for doing requirements management. Requirements management is one of the most important foundations. Okay, it's important. Quality systems, good. Should really be high quality. I can't stand say a quality system. A low quality system. What kind of quality? A medium quality system. to meet the criterion of meeting explicit and implicit requirements. Every project should begin with clear definitions. Focus the project management and control of requirements focuses the process of characterization and development of the customer requirement. In other words, if we organize the way we analyze, we discuss things, we'll probably do a better job. Improving the ability to control project progress. We want to, get things done, and we want to be able to control the rate at which we get things done. Okay, those are some of the those are like the motivation factors that motivate us to do what we're doing. What we will learn today, we'll see. We'll see what these are. Types of requirements. Annual work plan. I don't know if this is a real abbreviation or not. It's a little bit used, but not much. AWK, annual work plan. Requirements designed to assist in overall annual planning and budget. Maintenance which is requirements. Requirements for repairs and changes and improvements usually in the existing. These are types of requirements that we could have in our project. System feature requirements. Requirements that specify the characteristics and features of a computerized system. So we're going to we have to define what the requirements of the system are, how we're going to maintain it, and what we're going to do each year towards our goals. Example of a AWP requirements. So all annual work plan. Migrating the system database, including data cleansing. Add a report generator and improving interfaces with system X, Y, and Z. Adding new user groups. System security upgrade. Redesign the system. Regular maintenance. I guess these are all things that we're planning on doing this year. Now, how do we get this information? How do we decide on these things? We need sources of information. So we could ask users what they want. We could have fault reports. We could find out that something broke. It was something, we could have reports that tell us that things have been breaking. So that will tell us what we need to fix that next year. Input from computerized system. What does CRM stand for? I forget now. You guys must have learned that. Oh. Famous CRM is customer relationship management, which is a system for managing all of your company's interactions with current and potential customers. The goal is simple: improve relationships to grow your business. Customer relationship management. So that will be a source for, in other words, if you have surveys that have been sent out, that might be a source for what to fix. Law and regulatory changes, right? The laws could change. I got to change my program because to comply with the laws. Infrastructure changes. We're using new computers. Or changes in the information system. We're using a new database system. We need to convert the database. Conversions. Suggestions and ideas for improvement. Streamline. Somebody Stam suggested something. Streamlining and preventative treatment or of the IT unit itself. In other words, the IT people sat down and said, the people who are making this system maybe decided that they need this thing to make it better. System maintenance personnel. Maybe the people who are maintaining it say they're always stuck with this problem. We can improve the ability to maintain it. Initiatives of leading users and business managers. Could be top down, right? It could be the president of the company says he wants something. Okay, these are all sources of maintenance requirements, as opposed to, remember we said there's like these three kinds: maintenance, annual. Like maintenance is like in a flow. What's in a flow? Management of maintenance requirements and their routing using a centralized method. Users as well as CRM, customer relationship management, and fault management systems route all requirements and reports to one central address which is called a single point of contact. And then this function in consultation with the change manager or the CCB. The change manager is a person, or the CCB is a group of people who basically decide what changes to actually do. You don't just do everything that the CRM and the people and Mishtamshim users, all these people gave information to one guy. He prepared a document. He sent it to the board of directors, the CCB, the Change Control Board, and they now decide what changes of all this stuff they're actually going to do. They make priorities. And then they tell the responsible party to make the changes. Which and some of them could be daily changes, some of them could be weekly changes. Okay. Management of current requirements and their routing using the distributed method. I don't know what this is talking about. Okay. It's just too much detail in this. System requirement features. A product feature or capability required by the user to solve a problem to achieve a goal. A product feature or capability required to comply with a contract. In other words, features, why do we have features? It could be part of our original requirements. Or it could be that the user needs this feature. Or it could be that we have some kind of contract that we have to do this. Or some kind of national standard. Everybody has to fulfill this goal. Or some kind of binding document. Some kind of contractual obligation. So those are reasons why we would have new features, or why we would create features at all. Types of system requirements. There are functional requirements and there are non-functional requirements. What are functional requirements? They're requirements that describe the internal operation of the software, what the system should do, calculations, what it should do, how the system will respond to each of the user's actions. What are non-functional requirements? They're requirements that define a criterion that judges the operation of the systems, includes performance requirements, constraints, and quality characteristics on how to implement. In other words, the function is, can you check out of books in the library? The non-functional requirement is that it should take less than 3 hours, right? Performance requirements are that, I don't know, that it should be done, I guess you just want speed, but that it should be done without errors. That's kind of functional, but speed, let's say. So functional requirements is like what it actually does. Operation requirements are a requirement that relates to the operation, interaction, or behavior of a product, what the system needs to do. Actions, scenarios, incidents, responses, functions, data requirement,